All right, in this video, we're going to be looking at Unity Cinemachine and how do we actually create a follow camera. That way, when we're moving Daryl around, we're not just, seeing him run past our screen. We're actually following him and kind of actually building a real game. So let's start it off. The first thing we want to look at is, do we have Cinemachine even installed within Unity? So great way to check is if you go into your Windows, go into your packet manager, and under here, you'll see in project assets. So what have you installed and whatnot. But if you're not seeing it here, if you go into Unity registry and you scroll down, you'll see Cinemachine. You can also just type it in, Cinemachine. Perfect. You'll have it here. If you haven't installed it, you'll see install right here. Go ahead and install it. It'll take a couple minutes to get done. And then suddenly it'll be down here in your packages. Cool, nice and easy. How do we actually use it? So if we're in our main camera, what we want to do is, let's go back to our scene. Let's go add component. And if we type in Cinemachine, we're going to see a whole bunch of different things. But for us, very simple, we're just going to look at the Cinemachine brain. So click on that. We now added a little component. You see this little red thing here, and that tells you you have, you're using Cinemachine, you got something else going on. And if we look, it is automatically kind of set up similar to where we have our current camera. The next step is to actually bring it within the game. So right click, go to Cinemachine, and click on a virtual camera. Now, I like to name them something helpful. So it's called the Daryl Follow Camera. Because reality, in your game, you may have multiple cameras. Maybe you have a cutaway camera. Maybe you have, a boss over there. And, when a certain trigger happens, the camera will change to them. So, there's a bunch of different things there's a bunch of different things you could use the camera for. So, again, do yourself the favor and name them accordingly. I also like to create a cameras, just an empty where I can store everything in. It helps it keep it a little more organized, especially if I'm going to be having multiple cameras. I like to know exactly where my cameras are at all times. All right. Okay, first we have our main camera and we have our follow camera. And if we look at our follow camera, we gotta change some spots here because our follow camera right now, as you can see, is way too far away. So let's bring it in a bit. Let's move it over here. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like the angle of it either. So let's try and square it up just a little bit more. Bring it over. This camera is all kinds of wonky. So let's just go back to our axis. Let's set this as 0. That should be probably 180, so it's a little more dead on. And let's just set that to 0 for now. And I'm just going to move it myself to make it a little easier. Oops. Helps if I'm not clicked in there. So let's just bring that over here. Let's bring it down just a tad. That's not bad. And let's just have it tilt down just a hair. Bring it up just a little bit more. Okay. Not a bad looking camera, okay? We're kind of in line with where we want to be. So let's go back to our Daryl follow camera. And within our follow camera, we see a couple things. We have our look at and we have our follow. So what is the difference? Two very key things. So let's start off by just showing you exactly how it works. So I got hair in my eye. We're going to take Daryl and we're going to put Daryl into our look at camera. And I'm going to press play. And let's see what happens. Okay, so it looks like my camera is just following it. And you look, it rotates in circles on the left-hand side here. I don't lift up my hands, but if you look on the left-hand side of my screen under the scene, you see how the camera is kind of rotating on itself. And it's following Daryl very, very particular like that. So this would be great for, let's say you created a security camera, for example. You wanted to follow a specific subject. That'd be a great option for it. But this isn't what we're looking for. We want a camera that actually follows Daryl as he's moving around. Let's press play. So let's go ahead and remove Daryl from there. And we're going to put Daryl instead in our follow camera. Okay, and our follow camera is way over here now for some silly reason. Let's bring it back over. And we're going to go, oops. What am I doing here? Let's just get a better angle. I'm trying to do things quickly instead of doing them right. Back it up. Bring over here, hair Daryl. Boom. Give you a little more so I can see a little more of you. Perfect. Okay, so we're in our follow camera. We have it set up. Let's press play and see what happens. Now, when I move Daryl around, if I look on my left-hand side in my scene, I can see that the camera is actually following Daryl. And we're moving around. Daryl's following. All the great things are happening. But as you notice, there was that kind of slight delay, okay? So what they call this, it's basically called smoothing. And the whole point of smoothing is that it creates these less like rigid movements and whatnot. So, you move and it follows, you move and it follows, you jump and it follows. So it creates that more kind of organic feel as opposed to very, very boxy. Let's say you don't like it though, very easy to change. Let's go here. We're gonna go into body and you're gonna see these damping here. If you set the damping to 0 and then press play, and when you move around, you see that the camera is following. There is no slowing. There's no damping. There's nothing. It's just that very rigid kind of follow. And again, it depends on your game and the mechanics and the feel that you want for it. There is no right or wrong answer. But that is the basics of creating a follow camera within Unity.